crossover that they are exploring between these series and the films, I feel like if you end up seeing the series, you get information that you wouldn't have gotten if you just watched the film. You would be missing out on something. You'd be missing out on a story. You'd be missing out on a huge plot point. And these are seamlessly connected and going to be interwoven to the films coming up.
That's what I think the show's going to explore, sort of where they're at now. Where's the world, post Steve Rogers?
I think it's us hanging out on the couch, watching football, good old American sport.
Bucky's never seen Friends.
Waiting for some things to go wrong. Because you saw Fat Thor.
The Spidey debacle. Yeah. What do you make of it? What happens to Happy and May now?
What happens to Happy and May? Well, I guess Happy's single again. After all that time, it took 10 years for him to get into a good relationship. Yeah. It's still early days, and I'm as a fan, I'm cautiously hopeful that something will come together because I think all the fans want to see those characters together. I don't mean Happy and May. I mean Spidey with the MCU.